Welcome friends to the 12th episode of FinWiz, the Friday's Fire Chats. And here we have Mr. Karthik from Joker Creation with whom we are going to continue our discussion. Hi Karthik, how are you?
Hi sir, fine sir. How about you?
Fantastic Karthik, thanks a lot. So in the last two episodes, we were discussing about the various types of income and how normally we spend money. And on that note, Karthik had a very important question on how do we have more control on our expenses and can be more aware of that. So we had discussed about the importance of budgeting as a topic for this week's episode. So Karthik, before we start off, I would want to ask from you, according to you, why do you think we should have budgeting done?
Yes, budgeting is to check on our expenses, the daily expenses.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Predominantly, if you look at, yes, Karthik, you just want to have a check on our expenses, right? I would always say this are not about living a very miserly kind of a life, but it is about frugal living. No, what we mean by frugal living is we must be aware of where we are spending money. It is about mindful expenditure. Okay, so if we are talking about spending money and if we don't even know where our money is going, how much ever you earn in life, it will be insufficient.
True.
Lot of them say, I would buy impulsively. As soon as I see it, I like it and immediately I buy. It is not like love at first sight. You see a girl and you fall in love. Many of them fall in love with the products that they see and become impulsive buyers. But if you have a proper budget in place, you will not be an impulsive buyer, but you will tend to be a more responsible spender.
Okay.
So the whole purpose of having budget is to be aware of where our money is going. Have you gone on roller coaster rides, Karthik?
Yeah, sir.
It's very exciting.
Very more.
It is exciting because you don't know whether it is going to turn left or right and whether suddenly we are going to fall or rise, right? So it is so exciting, and those rides are typically only for about a minute or two.
Yeah.
Imagine if it is for 24 hours, the entire day you're on a roller coaster ride, how it will be.
It will be so much of headaches.
Headache, right? Absolutely right. You will get a headache and you will definitely start hating it. Similarly, in our life, what happens is sometimes roller coaster events do happen and they give us a jolt. Okay. Lot of them talk about having stress and anxiety and lots of financial worries.
Yeah.
The reason they have financial worries is because they feel that they don't have control on their money matters. So predominantly when you have a budget in place, the first major benefit is you will have control on your financial affairs. You will know where your money is going, where it is coming from, how much you are spending, for what purposes. And when you do this, what will happen is, as human beings, we would tend to take the maximum out of the money. Meaning, if you have seen typically when a sugarcane juice is being made, the sugarcane is put across the machine and they will take the last bit of the juice out of that before putting it aside as a waste. Similarly, when you are having a limited resources, as children we used to have games when we used to play, the resources will be limited, but we'll somehow make the maximum out of it. So when you have a budget in place and you can spend only this much amount of money for this particular purpose, you will tend to maximize the returns from it, maximize the benefit and get the maximum value for your money. If you don't have a budget, you will not even know whether the value that you are getting is equivalent to how much you are spending. So that's the major benefit. So you need to have a financial control on your life and feel more safe and secured and not have any worries, my dear friend. You need to have a budget in place.
Yes, sir. I understood. Yeah. So how do we do this proper budgeting and also?
See, first of all, when we are talking about budgeting, it is not that we are doing alone. Okay, it is done even at the level of national countries do it. Typically, if you look at every country has a method of doing it for that country as a budget. And in India, on the February 1st of every year, we have the finance minister come and present the national budget. Typically, if you look at what do they present, they will tell you last year, based on whatever the budget they had put in place, what expenses happened, where was the money spent, the taxpayers' money, and for the next year, where they are planning to spend, meaning what are the sectors, what are the allocation, like we would have seen recently, Vande Bharat trains and all this is taxpayers' money, right? So they are going to tell the entire world where is the money going to be spent, in what kind of projects and what kind of developmental activities that the government is trying to do for the public at large. And they are also going to give you a plan of how they are going to mobilize these resources. That's where many of them are glued to the TV to look at, okay, are the taxes being increased? What new taxes are going to come? Or are there some kind of exemptions and deductions that the finance minister is doling out? So this is done at a national level. This is also required to be done at a family level.
Okay.
So when you're talking about putting a family budget in place, we need to understand where all we are going to spend our money. Just to give you a heads up on that, Karthik, just to show you the kind of expenses that can happen, like whatever we had discussed the last week also, you can put it under a head, and under each head, what are the various expenses that you can have. For example, if it is housing, the rent, water expense, electricity, maintenance, or household like groceries, milk, vegetable, fruits, gas, laundry, paying the maids and servants, or if you have any travel expenditure spent on petrol, fuel, maintenance of the vehicles, or health related expenses, or education or personal grooming related expenses, entertainment, holidays, giving gifts. So if you look at all these expenses, first, what we'll have to do, step one is record what are expenses which are expected. And against each of the entry, you will have to put in what is it that you expect to spend. This is a budget that you are making as a provisioning.
Okay.
Against that, every month, how much is being actually spent, you will have to record that. If you look at some of the expenses are event based also, meaning there could be some functions in the family, Diwali or Pongal or birthday, anniversary, and also in that particular month, you might have a little higher expenditure on a particular line item.
Yes.
Some of it would happen at different frequencies, meaning paying of property taxes and all could come once in every half year. Or your insurance premium for vehicle can be in the month of April or October, depending on when you have purchased the policy. Sometimes life insurance policy premiums are payable on a quarterly basis or annual basis, depending on how you have taken the policy. So some of it could have a varying frequency. So what is important is to understand these expenses and list them when it is going to happen. So if you look at, I've also put in January, February, March. So like that on a month-on-month basis, it is important that you can understand when these expenses are going to happen and accordingly make provision so that you are not in for a surprise. Suddenly, a particular month, you might observe the expenses much more than the income which is coming in. So if you are aware beforehand, you can accordingly make provision. So the purpose of doing budgeting is so that you are having provision for all the expenses that you are going to come so that you can spend happily.
Yeah, sir. So all this, what you've shown is a very insightful, sir. So actually, how do we practically implement it?
Fantastic. Now, when it comes to practical implementation, yes, most of it looks good on Excel sheet. Okay, so you should have couple of discipline items that needs to be taken care. What I showed you as an Excel sheet is comfortable for some people who are a little tech savvy, okay, who are comfortable with systems and Excel workings and all. But there are many of them who are comfortable on a paper and pen. So if you are that kind of a guy, what I would suggest is take a small pocket diary and make a note in the pocket diary about various heads of expense. Whatever I showed to you, translate it to on a paper and pen. Have a proper book that is maintained so that you know what's happening. It is important to start recording the expenses, where it is being spent, how it is being spent. If you are sort of more of the techie guy, most of the millennials are, you can even have apps. There are a lot of apps available. A lot of them are also free apps. So you can download and start maintaining, recording these expenses on the app. The beautiful thing about some of the apps is you can also take the pic of the bill and upload it so that you can always check it at a later point in time, how much you spent on what. So the second most important thing after putting this on the paper or on Excel sheet or app is to track where the money is going. How much is being spent on what head of expenses. Either do it on a daily basis or as and when it is happening, or have a set frequency that works for you. But definitely it should not be end of the month suddenly realization dawns on you. No, at least it should be on a weekly basis. And after having tracked this on the paper or on the app, end of the month, review it. With respect to what I mean by reviewing this, there are some months where you would have exceeded the budget. There are some months where it would have been lower. So only when you are seeing it, tracking it, and then analyzing it at the end of the month, you can make changes to this budget going ahead for the next month or for the next quarter also. So as and when there is requirement, you should keep changing the allocations when required, because you will slowly start observing the effect of inflation also creeping in into your budget. Clear? And another most important thing, point number 3, is whatever we are doing, it is for the family, right? When you are earning money, it is for the family. When you are spending also, it is for the family. So start involving your family. It is most important. If you are married as a couple, sit and have a discussion about what are the expected expenses for this particular month, and then put the budget. And second most important thing, after having put the budget, is split the responsibility between each of you. Even if you are a couple, there are some of the expenses that you would take care, some of the expenses that she would take care. For those who have children who are probably mature enough to understand family expenses, involve them also in this entire budgeting exercise, as well as on the tracking of expenses. If you are not married, couple of them have the habit of probably sharing it with their mother. Okay. What I always believe is, Karthik, and I have seen, women are very good when it comes to managing the finances micro level. Okay. So give them the responsibility, nothing wrong, or share the responsibility with them. It is very, very important that the entire family is involved in this entire process. So if there are some expenses that probably mother takes care, that particular head of expense, what is the expected budget, give it off to her. If there are some of it that your wife takes care, give it off that particular portion to her and let them track it, and some portion you take care. If I have to share something very personally, I am not too good when it comes to microfinances at home. I cannot keep track of all this. So what I do is I give it off 100% to my wife. She very, very meticulously writes down what are the expenses that's happening. End of the month, we have a small discussion on where all we have spent money, whether something has gone off track, and what is expected the next month. And based on what is the expected expenses for the next month, she will put a budget and she will tell me this is what I expect to happen. And I will have to give her the money at the end of the month itself, so that the next month expenses taken care. And she is very good at it. To what extent, let me tell you. If let's say for some expense I've gone out, and when I'm coming home, I ask her, okay, do you need something on the way back home? She will tell me, okay, buy this and come. And when I buy it and come home, she will reimburse the expense to me. To that extent, okay, she is very good at managing the home finances. That's why most of us call our spouse as the finance minister at home. Right. So when they are good at it, give it to them. So it is important that you track your expenses. Now coming to the other challenge that many of them will face. Sir, all this I have put in place. 50,000 rupees a month expense I have put it. But suddenly I realize that it has gone off the mark. Okay. So how can I have a control on that? For that, I will give you a small tip. You have to bucket these expenses to chota mota heads, like the same thing that I showed you on the Excel. And physically in an envelope, typically you have postal envelopes. Take the postal envelopes, put the money in it. See, for example, you have earmarked some 5,000 rupees for eating out. Write in that envelope eating out and put 5,000 rupees in that physically. Whenever you are having a eat out, take the money from that, spend it, and put the change back in that, and write down how much you spent along with the day. Okay. Now, let us say after 2 or 3 eating out, the 5,000 rupees is khali. It is over. And you see the envelope is khatam, then sorry boss, over. No more eating out for that particular month. You have finished the quota. So what would happen? There would be a discipline that would set in, and you are sure that you will not spend more in a particular line item. See, if you remember the last episode, we had discussed about discretionary and non-discretionary expenses. Typically in the non-discretionary expenses, you know for sure what is going to happen. That is not going to fluctuate, or that's not going to change. The problem comes only with respect to discretionary expenses, where sometimes depending on our mood, we might spend more or less. It can definitely go out of control, and the discipline is required more in that particular nature of expenses. If you want, on the Excel sheet, you can give different color coding. A different color coding for discretionary expense for a non-discretionary. If you are writing down in a paper and a pen, use a different color pen or a different page to make a note of your discretionary expense, and a different page for non-discretionary expense, so that there is a very clear demarcation and a tracking methodology that you can have.
Yes, sir. But most of us are not spending in cash because we are in a digital India. So what do you say for them?
Super question, Karthik. See, when it comes to all this, whatever we have discussed, it is about discipline,
Discipline,
which
yes.
is here. The discipline is set at the mind, okay, mental level. It is not physical, whether it is a cash or digital mode. When you are saying digital mode also, you can very beautifully set in some disciplines in place. Meaning, if you are spending on your GPay or any wallets like your Paytm and all that, you should load that particular amount what is budgeted for that month, meaning 50,000 is the budget expenses. Load only that for that particular month in that wallet, and don't load anymore. Only once in a month, as soon as your salary hits your account, load that in the wallet, and you will have to spend within that. You cannot exceed beyond that. On the 20th, if the wallet is khatam, chup chap, sit quiet. Okay, you cannot do anything more. Understand that. Second, if you are using your UPI methodology like your GPay and all, which is linked to your bank account, I'm sure a couple of us have different bank accounts, not just one. So link a particular bank account which is earmarked for your expenses.
Okay.
And if the amount of balance that is there in that bank account in the beginning of the month should be the targeted budgeted amount for that month. And every time you are making any expenses, then you should use only that particular bank account for making this transaction on the UPI payment gateway. So at the end of every day, I'm sure most of you might have some kind of tracking mechanism, at least once in 2 or 3 days. When you have your in your UPI, you can see the transaction record, right? Make a record of that in whichever methodology you are convenient, either on Excel sheet or on an app or a paper and a pen on your book. And then you also check the balances. So by 20th, let us say you are checking the balance and you are really low on that next 10 days, it is the most toughest challenge that you have on how you are going to manage. So maybe a 1 or 2 month, it will be little tough, but then you will get used to it. Couple of them have the habit of swiping the card. I always believe credit card is a convenient methodology of making the payment. It is not for spending. It's not a method of spending. It's a method of making the payment. So in credit card also, definitely we will have a couple of credit cards. Earmark a particular credit card only for these kind of expenses at home. And in that credit card, you can set limits. Let's say the bank has given a limit of 2 lakhs. You can internally go to net banking and set a daily transaction limit, per transaction limit, monthly transaction limit. Even if it is 2 lakh limit, you can reduce it to 50,000.
Yes.
Okay, nothing is going to happen. So it is all about how do you self-impose some discipline to have financial control on your life. I'm sure if you do all this, it could be a challenge in a couple of months, 1 or 2 months, 3 months. But if you bite the bullet, you will definitely have much more financial control in your life and you will feel more happy.
So, thank you so much. So this was very fantastic and insightful. There are a lot of takeaways from this. So in which I'll start immediately implementing this. So thank you so much.
Fantastic, Karthik. My dear viewers, what is it that you want to put it into action? Do share with us on the comment section. And if you like this video, go smash the like button and share it with all your friends. And to keep a tab on our future episodes on the FinWiz, the Friday's Fair Chats, where we are going to discuss many more interesting topics on savings and investments and various other investment products. Do subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot, Karthik. Just to give you a heads up on Karthik. Karthik from Joker Creations has a team of 22 people who are ensuring that all my videos which are reaching out to you are beautified in an excellent manner with all the animation and other such digital attachments and helping me a lot on that journey. Thanks a lot, Karthik, for joining us this episode.
Thank you so much.
Seeing you all in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.